Well, good morning. I'm Phil Fersht. I'm the CEO, Chief Analyst at HFS. So delighted to have Raj Mamodia, who's the Chairman of the Board and the CEO of Brillio, come to join me today. Raj, you're one of these CEOs who came off that Cognizant CEO production line, and your growth story is now becoming one of the most distinctive. So I'd love to have you share a bit about your background in the industry. Were you always planning to lead your own tech business when you left college? Is this your calling?
Hi, Phil. Um, First of all, I associate myself more as a founder than the CEO. I think it just brings a very different level of commitment and intensity, to my purpose. Yes, it's been about 11 years since I left Cognizant. Those days were good days, but I think I've enjoyed the last 11 years the most. And no, when I left college, I was just trying to find a job to not be a burden on my parents, frankly, and I had no, idea what life actually is going to be. For the first 6 years after my engineering, Phil, I actually built dams and canals or helped build those, right? And then found my way in IBM. And those days, any good engineer in India actually would, find a good job, as you can imagine, and I think I did that too. IBM brought me to the US and, spent what 12 years with Cognizant. And then I think it was clear to me that I wanted to either be the CEO, an entrepreneurial CEO of a company that matched my cultural values, or start a company of my own. And how lucky I am. I got to do both of those things. So um, it's been exciting.
So you've celebrated, I think, 10 years now leading Brillio. Tell us about that journey and maybe start a bit more from the early days. How did you differentiate then versus what you're doing today?
When we started, Phil, the desire was to build a company that is going to last forever. But as you know, digital was just taking shape. And most of our enterprise customers and our focus actually has been Fortune 2000. And they were all sort of looking for a sort of players or providers who actually had the skills, right? But we were hell bent on on differentiating ourselves on sort of three dimensions, right? So culture, capability, and credibility, right? And so I think early days it was sort of more horizontal, right? If you had sort of good skills and if you had a global model of those skills, I think customers actually said, well, hey, here's a new player, that is hungry and all that, right? But as we grew, I think we actually formalized these parameters, right? So founders mindset is our culture, thinking big, about our impact on our customers, right? In terms of capability, I think people first, and then be able to retain, and then the last, I think, when you sort of think about credibility, 60% of our business, Phil, actually is outcome focused.
What were the keys to getting the company from where you came from to the size you are?
The idea is that I'm not chasing revenue, as the founder of this company. I'm chasing relevance, and frankly, that is an amazing purpose. So along the way, we did few tuck-in acquisitions, right? And those, probably have had about 15 to 20%, overall impact on our sort of revenue, right? But it's small, as compared to the organic. But I think organic growth and focus on relevance and building that challenger model with our customers is my biggest focus.
You got the large companies, the big services firms struggling just to stay in positive growth territory. You got a huge amount of noise around Gen AI and a lot of frustration around it now and how to adopt it at scale, etc. What's your what's your take on the market?
So the larger companies are sort of struggling with sort of lack of the discretionary spend and threat to their large scale contracts. The small companies don't do, frankly, 70-80% of what our customers are looking for right now, right? And so therefore, you all obviously have a big part of the industry actually struggling. And I think I see a big opportunity in that, right? So if you are a company that actually focuses on what matters now for your customers, and if you can sort of evolve around that axis really fast, I think you are in business.
It reminds me a lot of the mid 90s, mid to late 90s, where everyone was going crazy investing in e-commerce, and we had companies like Viant, Scient, Sapient, Cambridge Technology Partners, a bunch of these companies, Nerfwire, these businesses, and they were growing rapidly with enterprises getting them to build their e-commerce solutions, their websites, their e-businesses, that sort of thing. And I feel like this is now phase two, where people are wanting, I need you to build out my AI capability, my data architecture. I need you to help me write off years of technology debt and process debt in my organization. And we've almost had like 20, 25 years of in between where it was, let's just implement at low cost. Now we're getting back to, I need you, N, to help me get to the next layer of value. One, does that resonate with you and how you see the market? And two, how does a sort of mid-cap player like Brillio compete in this type of environment?
There are a lot of wines and science of of those days today as well, right? Well, they are very focused on sort of one thing or two things, that the customer sort of actually need. And um, and I think, look, those companies are built to be sold, in my opinion, right? I think our customers are looking beyond just talking about discretionary. They're looking at a lot of other problems, right? And of course, throw Gen AI in that, right? So I think they're looking for a partner that does two things well, in my opinion, Phil, right? So one, their discretionary spend requires a lot of agile thinking, a lot of capability deployed very fast to drive impact on their businesses, right? Call it Gen AI or not Gen AI, right? But all of these ideas, you want to sort of move certain workloads to cloud, or you want to actually sort of try a few things, right, etc. So you need a very agile, very capable partner who also actually can do these things without breaking the bank for our customers, right? But at the same time, our customers also need to reduce their the inefficiencies that they have actually garnered over decades in technology, right? And they have all these partners who have signed these hundreds of millions of dollars of contracts, and those partners are frankly not necessarily have been agile or accountable for disrupting themselves, right? So for us, when you think about this, while I can talk about Gen AI and cloud and and digital all day long, but I'm very focused on sort of looking at things that matter for our customers and use digital and AI to deliver those promises, right? So there are a lot of things that we're doing right now to sort of really modernize and and reduce the cost for our customers. So just technology, forget about a business process, business model and stuff, just technology.
Yeah, and where are you seeing most um, excitement or demand from your clients today? You said you're getting focus in some industry areas or some broad areas. Where are you seeing most of the traction?
So one, in the front office transformation, right? I feel like while a ton of spend actually has come down in terms of discretionary spend, but when you sort of think about customer experience, customer engagement, sales, marketing, right? I think those areas we sort of continue to sort of see significant amount of demand. The second phase that I see right now, Phil, is also a lot of cost takeout. And cost takeout could be of two types, right? You move certain workloads to, let's say, cloud because end of life or something else is happening, right, etc. But your focus is cost takeout, in terms of how you reshape your IT landscape. And second, I think, is about, well, you have certain spend rate. It could be running legacy, it could be running a discretionary project or so on and so forth. How can you actually bring that cost down, right? And without actually sort of losing that. So we are signing several deals at this point in time that are sort of indicative of that, right? The customers are very concerned, and I can tell you that this is happening in healthcare, pharma, tech, right, and financial services, right, where customers are sort of saying, hey, um, I need to sort of reduce this by orders of magnitude. Now they're also looking at as and you are the sort of doctor, in this, that a lot of GCC, a lot of stuff actually has been happening in India.
Yeah, yeah. India is fascinating right now with the influx in investment into, we call them capability centers, not people centers. But you mentioned areas like Gen AI and stuff. Do you feel it's almost like a lot of this is being incubated in these GCCs for exploration and discovery? Now, do you see more of those coming to prominence?
Yeah, no, I think long term. So one is what is happening now. So I don't know if Gen AI or AI sort of is necessarily is prevalent in GCCs right now. Frankly, I think for those who have been there 20, 30 years, I think they probably are going to do it. But there's a lot of also enterprises that are just moving in right now, and therefore their focus may be more either business process or analytics and all that. And frankly, we also have to sort of think about what Gen AI really is, right? In terms of what capabilities are they sort of looking to build. But my view is that given the mathematics and science and sort of focus on engineering, in a place like India, long term, I believe that as we look for a workforce that is able to marry a business process with technology, and has a significant amount of appetite to learn and to do well, I think India is going to excel because they will have the scale, they will have the skills.
I mean, let's be honest, a lot of the Gen AI impact is very analytical, and it's teaching business people to write prompts. Like, we're an analyst firm, so we love this stuff. I'm telling you, this has revolutionized how we do business. So I was just coming off a call with my analyst team where we're literally taking survey data in Excel flat files and just pumping them into GPT-4. And it's incredible once you really learn how to fine tune these engines, how these can help with your analysis. We predicted work that would have usually taken us 6 hours is now being done in 30 minutes. This is just analysis, right? So this is making us faster and smarter. But it's incredible the um, incentives you need to give staff to start using this. It's almost like a mental laziness. I've been doing things the same way for 20 years. Why should I change now? But I'm saying, hey, you walk into a dentist and they have 20-year-old X-ray equipment. You're out of there in 5 minutes, right? I'm not using you. So,
That's true. But I think, what you're experiencing, and I was thinking about, one of the human side of AI, right? As well, Will, that more private and public, focus needs to come on the human side of the impact of this, right? The focus has to be on getting the workforce ready for a sort of AI world. So it's not just about teaching people how to code and how to sort of use prompt engineering and all that, but I think how to sort of think about in general. So I feel like there is a ton of work that needs to happen in that area, instead of just getting our populations across the world ready for that.
I do feel as we look at this Gen AI space, we are overhyped in the short term, but maybe underhyped in the long term. So I think this is you see where this is heading, and I'm very interested on what the conversation is going to be like in a couple of years. I mean, what would you say we'll be talking about if we reconvene on your 12th anniversary?
My view is that in 18 to 24 months, I think we will talk about three things, right? One, we'll talk about lack of delivery of promise of AI. I think the world is so hyped up, and that in 24 months when we look back, all we would have done is take some cost out and talk about this stuff a lot, but not having sort of really made material progress, right, on that. Though the compute and storage around AI obviously is evolving really, really rapidly, but I still feel like our preparedness in terms of change management is not there. So that is one. I think um, second thing that we will talk about is, like I just mentioned, right, the ill preparedness of governments and public private partnership, in so think about regulations and skills right around AI. In my opinion, I think everybody is going to sort of find themselves in like surprised because some bad actors actually probably will make more progress faster, than the good actors, and we'll sort of suddenly start finding that, right? So I feel like that probably is the second thing that we'll talk a lot about. And third, I think, is sort of really the my focus area, which is the tech services industry. And I think you will see sort of maybe some new and emerging winners, right? In that industry, because they could move faster, they could actually place their bets where the customers wanted them to, and not sort of just sort of thinking about their own growth and revenues. I genuinely feel that digital, I think, gave rise to a lot of companies, but this will I think this will create sort of an environment for many companies to not thrive. I mean, there are no, you know I think, and that I think is going to be an opportunity. So I genuinely feel that you will see that. And tech services industry, I know that you sort of talk about the lower demand environment. um, I think it actually can get worse, and it might actually get really really bad. In that arena, then there are going to be companies that will thrive, and I think we'll talk about those in 2 years.
Yeah. Well, there's a few of these large companies who are buying buying renewals at 20% less cost, and you wonder where the pipeline is. They're almost borrowing from the future just to keep their stock prices up and their revenues up. So you do wonder, does this come crashing down? What do they have to do to dig themselves out of these holes? Do they start consolidating? I personally think we'll see consolidation. There's nothing like masking business failure with big messy mergers and buying in revenue. But yeah, there's definitely a pivotal moment coming in our space.
Right. So I think it's a consolidation has two or three issues as well, right, Phil? So one, and I was trying to think about it, right? So like, we brought Bain Capital in like what, 5 years ago, right? And that time we were probably among the first ones, sort of do something like that. And then there is a frenzy started, right? And you see so many sort of private equity investments, in sort of services firms, right? And last year, we sort of sold half of Bain's portfolio, to Origin. And and I remember that about 20, 30 companies were trying to exit. None of them actually could, right? So we were very proud of what we achieved, but the fact is that that did not take place. And the reason was, obviously, the performance actually started to look bad. The demand environment is tough, right? And the expectations on the multiples are very high. So I can tell you that those companies are coming up for sale, mark my words, right? And I think, and that will drive one. But the consolidation is also happening because many companies are just not going to be able to see their long term future on their own, growth future, right, etc. And that, I think, so, and either one is doing bad, or when two are doing bad, they consolidate with each other, right? And I think I feel like you will see that as well, significantly, right? In my opinion. So I think I can actually see it just based on the market activity right now, right? That there are a lot of conversations, right, that actually are taking place, right? Some public companies will go private, and yeah, it's going to be exciting. Actually, I feel like there are tons of people who will just give up, right? And that's good. That's good for folks like me.
Thriving on disruption and change. I get it. I've done it myself, so we have that in common. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation, and yeah, we took a very interesting direction at the end there. But it's true. This is a pivotal time for an industry which has enjoyed 25 years of growth and has now maybe hit a little bit of a bump in the road, and who's going to make it over the other side, right? So, thank you very
Absolutely.
much for your time today,
Thank you,
Raj. It
Phil.
was
I enjoyed
fantastic.
it.